Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Hard Ticket, our podcast where we get invited out to see a double feature with our friends and then show up at the marquee to discover that both movies are playing at the same time. Has that ever happened to you? Because it happens to us
every week.
Every week. We have a very special episode for you today, and, you know, going back and editing these episodes, I realize I say that every single time, but this week's episode is special for 3 reasons. First of all, Tristan, say hi, everybody.
Hi.
That's Tristan. This is me, Jeff. And we are doing our first in-person recording this week. So our cadence might sound a little bit different, and we're very excited to be here together.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking
in
right
your
at
eyes.
You. And I know that there's no delay in our audio. It's great. Second reason why it's special is because it's our first superhero episode, and that's one of the biggest genres of the 21st century. And we have 2 behemoths that we're talking about today, which leads me to our third reason why it's so special. We have a guest with us for the very first time, resident Zack Snyder aficionado, Dallas Hartman.
Yep, that's me, Dallas Hartman here to report on the facts about how Zack Snyder might be the greatest director of our time.
It's going to be an interesting discussion.
Yes, it is. So, Tristan, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody listening about option number A?
Yeah, option number A. So we are discussing Batman Begins as our first movie today. It's a 2005 superhero movie, which is a genre, as you just said. I think that's fair to say. It's action, drama, thriller.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a taco of a genre.
It's a taco thing. Yeah. Superhero movies can be so much. Brightburn, that's a superhero movie. It's also a horror movie. It stars Christian Bale, famously. He's Batman. He's got a very raspy voice, and we love him. It's got Cillian Murphy as a villain, Scarecrow. It's got Liam Neeson as a villain, kind of spoilers, as Ra's al Ghul. Katie Holmes plays Rachel, the love interest. It's basically just the origin story of Batman. It's a new origin story for Batman. It's the first film of the famous Dark Knight trilogy that Christopher Nolan did during the 2000s, and it's a dark and gritty and grounded take on Batman, I think is fair to say.
Different direction, I think, that Batman had gone. The last Batman movie before this was Batman and Robin.
Yes, yeah, very different from the Joel Schumacher Batman, but also different from the Tim Burton Batman. I mean, where that was kind of dark in a campy way. This is dark in a definitely more realistic way, although not without its own one-liners and stuff like that.
Yeah, still very much a comic book movie that comes through. It kind of does a thing I think you see in the James Bond movies after the Austin Powers movies kind of killed the spy genre, where like Daniel Craig comes in and his version, it has to be so serious and dark because nobody can take it serious unless you just up the stakes by 100.
Yeah. And at the risk of repeating a theme that we talked about in our last episode about War of the Worlds and Independence Day, this is a post 9/11 Batman movie, and you do sort of get a little bit of that Bush era politics, especially as the trilogy progresses, but I think in the first one as well. So I'm curious though, like, what are your all's first experiences with this movie? Is this the first time you ever watched it? Is this a rewatch for you all?
Where Batman Begins?
Yeah.
I got you. So my history with Batman Begins, I remember watching it as a drive-in theater as a little kid.
Really?
Yeah, we were in an RV and we pulled into a drive-in theater. And that was actually my first experience with Batman. Like, I wasn't super into superheroes as a kid. Like, I wasn't a Spider-Man kid or anything like that. Like, I didn't even know what Batman was, and I watched it, and I was super enthralled by it.
And that's when it first came out?
Yeah, when it first came out, way back then. And that was, like, my first experience of Batman Begins. So I've seen it a lot of times since then, because I love Batman. So I've had a lot. But this was my first time watching it in the past few years. So it's definitely kind of a fresh take on it from a different perspective. I probably hadn't seen it since high school or college.
Yeah.
Jeff? Yeah, no, I definitely grew up with this movie too. Not in the same sense that you did, Dallas, but there were a select few series that my family would watch repeatedly. Like, my mom loved watching the Harry Potter movies. We loved watching the Lord of the Rings movies. And for some reason, Christopher Nolan's Batman series got lumped in there, and that was one that we rewatched a lot of times. And so Batman Begins was kind of like my introduction to superheroes, I think, because, we're not going to sit down as a family and watch all of the MCU or anything like that. Like, what are they up to? 80 hours now with Thunderbolts this year?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Our inevitable marathon is going to take,
unfortunately for us specifically.
Just keeps getting bigger.
But yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen this one for a while. I've rewatched probably The Dark Knight the most. But
sure.
Batman Begins, I was really excited to revisit for this. What about you?
For me, I mean, I remember watching this. I think I watched it at home, so we must have rented the movie or bought it. And I just remember feeling terrified of the Scarecrow, especially when he's on his horse. Like at the end of the movie, like he's running through Gotham with all the aerosol. It is freaky. I think there's some creepy visuals in this. That's really all I remember. I wouldn't say I necessarily grew up watching the movie. I watched it once when I was a kid. I watched it a couple of years ago when I was in college, and I think this is honestly just my third rewatch.
Well, this is a good time to introduce option number B.
Yes,
and I'm going to pass it off to Dallas because this movie is
near and dear.
Yeah.
So option number B here, we got a 2013 film by the name of Man of Steel. It is Zack Snyder's interpretation of the character Superman, a character who has been in the American eye for many, many years. Once a symbol of propaganda, kind of transformed into a symbol of the American dream, and now he's kind of a symbol of, I don't know, the American ideas. But the story follows the origin, much like Batman Begins, of this character Superman, his home planet. The story everyone knows. His planet dies, he comes to Earth. And this story kind of dives more into the human aspects of the Superman. So the Superman character itself in past movies has been more of a super character, a more bigger than life character. And, post 9/11, it becomes more serious, becomes more intense, more character driven. So I feel like this film kind of dives into that a bit. And you get the characters there. You got Superman. You got classic Lois Lane. You got Zod. Who else do we have?
That's about it.
That's about it. You got Pa Kent.
We got Pa Kent. We got the Kent farm. That's just as iconic as Superman. There's
a
Kent
border
farm.
collie on the farm.
Yeah.
It's a farm.
It is a
It's
definitely
a
farm.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's lots of corn.
So
you'd think it might be a Christopher Nolan movie.
Planted all that corn.
Yeah.
So Dallas, I guess we'll start with you because this movie, you hold this in high esteem. What's your first memory with this movie? How did you first come to it?
My first memory of this one, similar to Batman, I was more of a comic book nerd at that time, but I saw Superman as kind of like a boring character because I was like, he has no flaws. He's just like and everything. He's always going to win, and if he dies, he's going to come back. He's going to win. It's Superman.
Right.
And so it never felt like there's a whole lot of stake to the character to me. So I never put any interest in it. So I never saw any of the old Superman movies. But anytime I visited my aunt, we always liked going to the movie theaters because we liked talking about movies and all that stuff. So one time when I went up to visit, I was around 2013, I assume, me and her just went to this local movie theater that had like $5 tickets.
Yeah.
And it was an old school theater. So they had like up top, they had like a food and beer and up top. And then you just go sit in this giant theater, huge screen. And I saw Man of Steel and I was just so blown away by all of it because I'd never seen Superman in that aspect before. Okay. Superman in that style, that story.
Yeah.
We'll get more into it, but like that it was very much a turning point for me, my bias towards that character.
Sure. Yeah. So it sounds like a very positive experience from the start. What about you, Jeff? Is this your first time watching this?
Yeah, actually it is. And, this movie came out in 2013, so 8 years after Batman Begins. None of us had the opportunity to grow up with this version of Superman. Not that it's particularly a movie that I think... it's kind of aimed at teens. We were like teens when it came out.
Like angsty, yeah.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people say that the Dark Knight trilogy is dark and angsty, but it feels, I think, a little bit more palatable, I think. Man of Steel feels more like it has a singular kind of appeal that it's trying to do, which, isn't a knock against it exactly, necessarily.
But we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But in prep for this episode... I watched it for the very first time. And I actually don't think I'd seen a single Superman movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I'd seen both versions of Justice League, which Superman is in both of them.
Right.
But no,
I've still yet to see any Christopher Reeves or any of the older Supermans. I haven't seen any of them.
That's really interesting to me because I grew up on the Richard Donner Superman, the 1970, I think 8 Superman with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, yeah.
The big John Williams score and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up on that. Like, my parents were really into it. I think they showed it to me, actually, when Superman Returns came out, which was the one, I think it came out in...
06.
06, okay. which I don't think is like super highly regarded. And I've only seen it like once. But I think after we watched that, my parents were like, okay, you're ready to see Richard Donner's Superman. And so I just have fond memories of that. I first watched Man of Steel probably shortly after it came out because I think we rented it on Redbox.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, my grandparents rented it on Redbox. My religious grandparents rented this movie on Redbox. And
well, it is a religious movie.
It is,
as I watched the movie, it became obvious. I was like, oh, okay. And I ended up finding out that apparently, like, the marketing for this movie, they tapped, like, I guess some faith-based marketing agencies to sort of target that demo. So I don't know. I wonder if, like, my little granny got a Man of Steel ad that was like, this is a very, Christian affirming.
He's just doing the T-pose.
Yeah, he's just doing the T-pose, yeah. So that was my first experience with Man of Steel, and I had not seen it since, it was probably 2014, I think would be.
Oh, it's been over 10 years.
It's been over 10 years, and this movie has stayed kind of relatively in the pop culture discussion ever since it came out because of sort of the direction that it led the DC universe down, which has been controversial. It's still sort of controversial, even with James Gunn coming to do his Superman movie this summer.
Right.
It comes at a prime time of right after Iron Man, not right after, but Iron Man has come out, Thor has come out, and Avengers was just released in 2012. So it's coming off the heels of that almost, where DC is trying to, again, make a power move like they did back in the day with the comics when Marvel and DC were kind of the same thing. DC decided to kind of branch off and get into more different territory to kind of compete. And that's kind of what DC, I feel like, did around that time when they brought Zack Snyder in. Because he did The Watchmen, so he's coming right off The Watchmen.
Scrambling at the same time because Man of Steel
they were really scrambling.
The Kickstart comes out right after the Avengers, which was this big cinematic catharsis at the time.
And DC wanted that. They're like, give me that team up. I want that team up. And that was also some of the pushback with the Zack Snyder stuff.
So they catered to the religious right.
And this is, I think, around the time where Marvel's maybe starts to get a little bit more like homogenous, after Man of Steel, or maybe a little bit further down the line, because I think Phase 2, which has
it was a little further because Thor 2 came after Man of Steel, so they started getting a little weird too.
Phase 2 in the Marvel universe, I think, is one of the most highly regarded phases, probably, right? Am I correct?
Phase 2 and 3 I think are generally regarded as the highest.
Yeah, but I think it would be interesting. Let's talk about why compare these two movies right now, because there's a conversation happening between these two movies.
Sure.
Nolan directs the Dark Knight trilogy, and then Batman is one of the biggest superheroes in the DC Comics universe, and who's the other guy? It's about time you had your Superman answer to the conversation that Nolan started, and of course he's involved. He's an executive producer on Man of Steel.
Right.
And it's interesting because it's a turning point in Zack Snyder's career. This kind of put him, like, he had fans before.
I feel like Watchmen and 300 put him more on the map than this. Right. Like, but this kind of gave him
This made him a mainstream kind of name.
This kind of brought him into the light of, like, the criticism of like, the upper echelon of directors. Because before with Watchmen 300, it was like, a guy named Zack Snyder made a cool movie. They're all right. But him making Man of Steel, like, to give a director the IP of an American hero like that is kind of big. I mean, and that brings up like how they got all those the production deals, because you're making a Superman movie at a time where America is kind of like in a teetering point. You're coming off a recession, again, post 9/11, much later than that, but like they kind of want to, like, you can sense some of the wanting of bring back that American idealism a little bit.
People are still, when it came out, they were associating Man of Steel more with Nolan because of how hot he was off the Dark Knight trilogy, and how much I think a lot of the surface level style of Man of Steel feels like it's kind of mimicking the Dark Knight trilogy with like the more muted tones and the more brooding characters. And that's where I think it's kind of a skin deep comparison, I think.
I mean, they're both origin stories too. Like we were talking about how it's kind of a character against a better version of itself. Like, that's a common trope with superhero movies.
You have Batman versus Ra's al Ghul, who is his mentor, and sort of I guess in a certain way.
It's the first Iron Man movie, Iron Man, the first one. Yeah, you're going up against Ironmonger, who's technically stronger, better, but it's the superhero. But
the evil version,
it's the evil version.
Superman against Zod, who's basically Superman, but Hitler. Like, it's just that. So, I mean, there's comparisons there. There are origin stories. There's the sort of their
runtime.
the runtime
so long.
Yeah. There's similarities, I think, in some of the themes. Like I think there's a big theme between like free will and determinism between these two, like picking up like duty, that sort of thing. Like I feel like that's a big deal between these two movies.
Yeah. Consequences of your actions and what you need to take responsibility for. Yeah.
I think a big difference between the two, though, that sort of strikes me is I think Batman Begins is like an attempt to it's a attempt to canonize a type of Batman. I think Christopher Nolan is trying to write like almost like a definitive Batman text. Like post Burton, you know,
right?
He's like, you have your Adam West Batman, you have your, you know, your Tim Burton Batman, and now here's your Christopher Nolan Batman, and it's not. There's nothing heretical about it. It's just sort of its own thing.
Do you think he succeeds in sort of like establishing that canonical?
Oh yeah,
I think he does a good job at world building. So something the older Batmans don't do is like they show the Batcave, but you kind of glance through it. They show the Bat suit, but they kind of glance over it, and they kind of show Batman around other people, but he's like a celebrity. He's not really like a creepy figure. I think Nolan does a good job at building that world. Like you sit in it a little bit.
It's all about making it real. And that's the canon of the Dark Knight trilogy. Right. This is a real, like, what if Batman actually existed in the real world?
And that's how you rewrite the canon. Like you
I don't think I think it just sets its own canon. Yeah. And I think you look at something like Man of Steel, and for me it feels like more of a deconstruction, I think, of the Superman.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's really fair.
I think the Dark Knight trilogy deconstructs and then pieces it back together. And for Man of Steel, it's a lot of just kind of like, I think you get a lot of those pieces of what makes up that canon, and I don't necessarily know how they piece together.
It brings up a point too of that time period, because it is a movie of its time. In that time period, the internet's kicking up and fandoms are becoming a bigger thing. So it's a time too where you're setting a canon when you don't really even know you're setting a canon. Like no one knew that, everyone's going to think that this is exactly what Batman should be like from here on out. But like for a lot of adults, that might be their only interpretation of Batman. So like technically in society, that's what Batman is, because the majority of people think that's what Batman is. So like, it's interesting that like the time where social networks and things were picking up, these movies came out and created an extra discussion of like, oh, is this what a fandom's supposed to be? Is this kind of like, do we have to have a set canon? Because like before that, people didn't really get too uppity about canon as far as like that stuff's concerned.
The MCU destroyed continuity.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, once you introduce that layer of like that era of superhero stories, it's like now we have 3 different Batmans, we have like 3 different Spider-Man.
Yeah. But the Batman started that though, is kind of what I was getting at. It's like, because like before that, the Batman movies didn't have like a canon necessarily. Like they had like a little bit.
I think we should maybe set some context here.
Okay.
For one, comic books are a very different medium from film, obviously, but not just because of their medium, but because films are just so much more popular, right? So they can establish themselves in the consciousness way stronger, I feel like, than a comic book.
I feel like, yeah.
Another thing, we should make it clear that, Jeff, I don't think you're a big comic book aficionado.
I've read some X-Files comics, some Scooby-Doo comics as well.
Yeah, I think I own one comic book that was given to me like 15 years ago. I'm not a big comic book person. Dallas, you are a comic book person.
Yeah.
So you come at these movies from a different perspective, even though,
correct.
And I think it's really interesting that you actually hadn't seen like any Batman movies before Batman Begins. You hadn't seen any Superman movies before Man of Steel.
Correct.
Would you like to tell people about the tattoo on your forearm? What symbol that is?
So because I'll use that to transition to talk about a little bit what I want to talk about as far as that goes. So the comic books, to set to say what I'm qualified to say, I'm not exactly like all into comics. I don't have billions of them, but I've read a lot of the Batman stories, like some of his more popular ones. Read a few of the Superman ones, and I have some of the other lesser known heroes and stuff. So I have a good idea of some canon, some comic booky stuff, some different things like that. But as far as Batman goes, I have a tattoo on my arm of a giant Batman symbol, and funny enough, it's from the Batman that I don't even like that much, but I like the symbol. It's the Tim Burton Batman, and I just like the symbol of Batman because to me, he's like a symbol, much like Man of Steel. Superman is like an American symbol of like American propaganda or like American society. Batman to me is a symbol of the darker side of society that doesn't get talked about a lot, like the mental health stuff that's becoming less taboo now. But back then, it's Batman is an idea of someone who's really, really struggling with a lot of mental demons.
He brutes.
Yes. Right. So I brute. And that is kind of why I have this tattoo of Batman, because I saw that movie when I was a kid and I said to myself that when those things happen to me, I don't want to be a kid that goes and cries in the corner. I want to use those feelings to empower myself and to be something better and to go and do something for the people around me. Not necessarily bashing criminal brains in until they're in the hospital, but I wanted to use my pain to create more happiness in the world. So that's kind of why Batman is an important character to me, and why I care a lot about how he's represented in media and how certain aspects of that are represented. So like the one thing I want to talk about in that instance is the character Rachel. So the character Rachel, I feel like in comic book terms, kind of pulls away from the character of Batman a bit. The Batman doesn't necessarily have a solid canon because there are so many variations, different worlds, different multiverses, whatever.
Yeah, and Rachel's not like a Mary Jane type,
right,
you know?
Right. It's not like he had a childhood friend in any of them, or like a relationship. Sometimes he has relationships with, say, Catwoman or like a villain or something, and it might be like
he's got a rogues gallery and he's got a rogues gallery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the idea of Batman, when Rachel comes in, I think Rachel pulls a lot of that iconicness from Batman for me, because Batman has always been a person who uses his internal struggles to become something better, like the Buddha. The Buddha, he was raised in riches and in grandeur, and then he went out into the world and saw the pain and the poorness, and he went out and wanted to be something better and live amongst them. And I feel like Batman is kind of a similar take of that.
Is there a sexlessness to Batman? Like he's
so that's the thing. Like Batman, he's human. He's human, but he's depressed. You know, I don't know if you all have been depressed or have anxiety in the past about things, but it does have an effect on a lot of aspects of your life, such as your sexual life, your friendships, your everyday life. So the idea of Batman in the comics is a person who's living with really deep, dark demons, and he's trying to find a way to just live. And he does have sex sometimes. You know, he has sexual attraction. Sometimes, man. You know, Catwoman might come and beat him up and be like, you know what, that's what I need right now, and he'll just like hang out with Catwoman. And funny enough, our pal Ra's al Ghul has a connection to Batman's sex life in the comic canon.
Right, his Talia.
His daughter Talia al Ghul actually drugs and rapes Batman and creates the new Robin, Damian. So yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I actually watched that animated movie that came out like.
So Batman has a little demon son, Damian Wayne, in the comics. He doesn't get mentioned in any of these movies.
He's the worst Robin.
Yeah. But Damian is not in Batman Begins.
No, Damian's not in Batman.
So we open Batman Begins with it's Batman in prison, right? Like he's in some detention facility, and apparently he got himself locked up to fight criminals. That's the explanation given.
Like a catharticism.
It's his release from. Well, he feels, a strong sense of justice, right?
Well, no, actually, no. So at that time, but at that time, it's not that sense of justice in Batman. At that time, it's post dead parents and pre going back to Gotham in the slum. It's him just kind of being cathartic about like your pain. Like, I don't know if you guys have been. We'll
say revenge then.
He's angry.
Revenge.
He's angry. I mean, he's basically a loaded gun that Rachel points in a direction.
But he's not trying to fix himself in that prison. He's just going to fight. He's just going to be angry and rageful.
Do not get yourself sent to prison as a form of therapy. Like that, you cannot recommend that. No, it
worked out pretty well for him.
It ends up working out when Liam Neeson finds him in the prison and says, "Come up to my Tibetan,
Go pick this flower, blue flower, red thorns. Blue flower, red thorns."
His Bruce's journey, it's really, I love the way Nolan kind of does like the imagery thing where Bruce's journey begins with a climb to the peak of a mountain, right? Like he starts at the top. And the interesting thing about Batman is that he does find the solace in the darkness. So like ultimately his origin is from falling into this pit, and he makes his nest in this pit and everything. And Nolan really likes, I think, playing with that imagery. I think it's interesting because there's the big famous quote in Batman Begins, which Thomas Wayne says, and Alfred, played by Michael Caine, of course, why do we
Master
fall?
Wade.
Master Wade.
Why do we fall, Master Wade? And that's a big theme of this movie, right? Like it's about overcoming some trauma in your life, some struggle.
Chumbawamba, tub thumping, you get knocked down,
Yeah,
get back up
but
again.
you get up again. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So and then of course the other I think big theme in this movie is fear, because you have your two villains who are very much acting as fear agents. They're terrorists in like the literal sense of the word. They're trying to spread terror,
right,
to cause a degradation of society, which I think is.
There's also some daddy issues that we can poke in on a little, because like actually Roz, I prefer to call him Ray Shuggle as his comic name goes, but I will call him Roz just for consistency's sake with this. But he actually comments on Bruce Wayne, like while they're fighting, about his dad. And like calling his dad kind of a bitch. He was like, your dad was the one who's at fault. It's not you. He's trying to help Bruce Wayne get over those issues.
Right.
But at the same time, he's bringing up his daddy issues and being like, this is the stuff you need to confront if you actually want to grow as a person. You don't want to just stay in prison. So at the same time of like kind of building him up, he's also kind of like mentally giving him therapy, which is kind of interesting. Like he's like trying to build him to be a warrior, but also like your mind has to be clear to be that kind of warrior.
That's such I'm going to use that to kind of pivot over to Man of Steel, because this version of Superman has more daddy issues than
anything else.
And you're saying like Rachel is sort of the catalyst for Batman.
Yeah.
Superman does whatever any respective father says to him, basically.
But that's the important part about Man of Steel, though, for me. I feel like that's his human origins. Like I don't know if you all have a authoritative dad or a dad that might have more intense emotions with you, but it can have lasting effects even into adulthood as far as like things you do in your everyday life. The voice in your back of your head is more often than not your parents from growing up. So like that's something that I think is kind of important that the other Superman movies, I say that not knowing them, but might have missed out on because they don't really dive into that aspect of the human side. Because he was a kid, he was a baby with superpowers, and a farmer had to raise him.
Yeah, well, okay, you keep talking about this human side. Yeah, and we need to talk about this because
let's hear it.
Okay, so you're talking about dad, right?
Yeah,
and dad's important, of course.
Paw Ken.
Paw.
Say it right.
Paw. The first two letters of Paw. P-A. Paw. Patriarch. He's a patriarch, right?
Dude, how did you do that?
Come up with that on your own.
There's a big thing going on in Man of Steel that is, to me, very much antithetical to the whole humanizing of Superman, which is that he is deified very explicitly.
But he doesn't want to be as the human side.
We can get into that, but I think this is important because I feel like one side is overtaking the other side for much of this movie. I feel like the side that's taking over is the idea of Superman as a god, as a savior.
Yeah.
That's what both of their dads sort of set Superman up to be.
Right.
He's described as a bridge between these two worlds. Jesus Christ, like it's literally Jesus Christ. Like that's the touchstone for it. And I feel like that starts to take a little bit away from the humanizing aspect of Superman, as opposed to, I feel like, a very human Batman in Batman Begins, who has human struggles. And
I think you might be pulling some biases in there a little bit.
Okay.
Because I didn't grow up religious in the slightest. I didn't even know what God was until I was like 15. I literally had I had no spirituality in that sense. So like any kind of imagery or association with like Christianity or religion kind of goes right over my head, aside from the overt like
even
Jesus poses.
As it is
you don't feel like,
I don't feel any Christian relation aside from him literally doing a T pose and looking like Christian.
Sure, and we can talk about the symbols, but it's also a matter of the way Zack Snyder frames.
But that's the thing, is that like I don't see this as like a story of Christ or anything, because I don't know that much about
it. Doesn't
Christ.
have to necessarily be Christ. That's my cultural touchstone, because I grew up as a Christian. That's the archetype.
That's Harry versus Voldemort. It's like that kind of thing that you see. Zod is Hitler. Superman is Jesus. Superman, kills Hitler.
But like
Jesus kills Hitler.
Jesus, ultimately, if you want to, cater to that audience.
I just wanted to bring up like that aspect of like our cultural influence does have an aspect of our likes or dislikes for said movies. Like that's one thing that I know a lot of people bring up that I just don't get any of that feel from Man of Steel.
And Zack Snyder does all but literally just have a big red arrow pointing at Superman that says Jesus on it. Like, he does everything up to that. So I feel like you can't miss out on what like the messianic thing that's going on in Man of Steel. and how for me, okay, so I like Henry Cavill as Superman for the most part. I think he's okay. I don't think he's like awful. I don't think he's amazing, but I feel like he has the look down. Like he looks like Superman to me.
Oh yeah.
I think the subtleness of his acting helps with the Superman, like the smirkiness a little bit.
What you see as subtlety, I see as like an understatement of his humanity. I feel like he is too reserved. He's too guarded. He doesn't come across as a human. He comes across as stoic. Like he's very stoic, like a
But that feels human. That feels human to me. Like I feel like that's the most human you can be, is someone who is mindful and stoic. Like I feel like people who are not mindful are like NPCs, like barely people.
To me, your talk about Buddha earlier about Batman, that's sort of stoicism. I feel like that is approaching something that sort of transcends like a normal human reaction. Like the most human thing we see Superman do in Man of Steel is, spoilers, snap Zod's neck and then scream about it, which
the most human thing he does is watch football.
Okay, he does watch football.
No, I mean like the human side of...
Maybe that's why I can't relate to it. I'm not a football guy.
The human side of Man of Steel comes from like his relationship with Ma Kent and Pa Kent and that stuff. Like
but what relationship besides... this is my problem with Zack Snyder as a director. I think he has a good idea of how to visually convey some ideas, like the veneer of idea. Okay, so here's the Kent farm, right?
Yeah.
It's wheat fields. It's a grain silo. It's a blue Chevy truck that Clark.
But that's
that
the Kent farm. Like that's what it was based off.
But no, but it's a farm that is like it's very much a comic book farm. And here's the thing: Man of Steel is not really a comic book movie. It's trying to do something different.
Right.
And I feel like if you're going to traffic in like stereotype and cliche, while also trying to make some profound point about like how Superman is a god and we want to see ourselves in him and be him and all this stuff, you need to elevate your imagery a little bit. You need to not be so on the nose.
So like what would be an ideal? Because I like the farm idea because it's so simple. Like because
I'm fine with him living on a farm. I just don't need it to be like a picture. It doesn't need to be like a Hallmark postcard.
But I mean that's like that's the thing is like Superman. That's his thing, is he's a perfect boy like that. I mean that's one of like the Superman iconic things to me. Like Smallville, they'll show like that's what the
okay. But another thing about Superman is that he's not like a god. He's like an everyman, American.
Hey, he's Clark Kent.
American is apple pie hero. Yeah. And Man of Steel is not doing that. Man of Steel is like, he is like a god and people look up to him and want to, revere him and all this stuff.
We wanted you to learn what it meant to be human first. So that one day, when the time was right, you could be the bridge between two peoples. Look. You can save her, Cal. You can save all of them.
This is my defense of Snyder as you're ready to hear. But I really like his interactions with his mom for one. I know the Martha thing comes up later or whatever, but like his attachment to his mother, I don't have a strong attachment to mine, but his feelings towards her, like him freaking out in the classroom when that feels like a turning point for me where he chose to be Superman instead of Homelander. When he is in that locking himself in the classroom. Oh my God,
when he's in the closet, man. Yeah. Like, I just want to say that anytime I see Superman, like in the rare instance where he uses his powers to actually like hurt somebody innocent, like burn, it terrifies me.
Oh, yeah. It's super terrifying. And then his mom comes in.
Like the evil Superman genre.
We talked about Brightburn. I mentioned that earlier. Homelander is the big one.
So that isn't a turning point for me. That's where his human sides come in. Because at that scene right there, he's Homelander. But his mom comes in and says, listen to my voice, Clark. Listen to me. You're just me. You're just with me on the farm. And that's his human side to me. Like, that's where I feel like the human sides are the small scenes like that. Not the bigger epic scenes, but the very small things where he comes and sees his mom and hugs her because he hasn't been there for a while. He's been out on an adventure. Sure. He comes home and it's a loving embrace. He gets to be with his mom.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's no humanity at all. No. I think Snyder does pepper it in. Like I think I also clocked that he was watching football. Like I thought that was funny. I was like, oh,
so much.
She was like,
aliens are invading. He's like,
she's like yelling for Clark, and I'm like, can he hear it with like a superpower? Yeah, whatever. I guess he blocks it out or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, he's watching the game.
He's watching the game.
Yeah, he's like, not now, Mom. I'm watching the game. I thought that was funny.
Superman comes out like, they cut to Taylor Swift way too much.
And I like the scene, in the classroom and in the closet and stuff like that. I that's like maybe my favorite scene in the movie. I like that. I think it
or him getting bullied and him not fighting back.
Okay, let me draw a comparison between the two heroes in these two movies because when we talk about the humanity we see in them, both of them start the movie very aimless, right? We see Batman in prison fighting people for no reason.
Yeah,
we see Superman like. The second he lands on Earth, we cut to him as an adult on a ship. And for, the Man of Steel also is doing a similar thing that Nolan is known for, which is playing with time.
Yeah.
I think Batman Begins does it very well. And I didn't necessarily think that Man of Steel landed those because I feel like after the Krypton sequence, we are all over the place. And the only way that kind of works for me is if you're kind of learning about Superman from the perspective of Lois Lane. She has a thing where she's hunting him down. He's like a mythic figure. He's almost like a folklore, I've heard stories about him, but you can't also be learning about Superman at the same time as her and also tracking his growth from his perspective.
Yes.
They're conflicting ideas to me. And that's why the narrative feels very confused for the first hour of this movie.
It feels confused because, for one, I think Lois Lane's character is wasted. I think she absolutely should be that person who is like the audience surrogate who introduces us to Superman. If you're going to already have Superman be
she kind of did, though.
I don't feel like she does very well. You open with, like when you cut to Earth, you open with Clark, and it's Clark's story, and it's mostly from his perspective. There's a little bit of Lois in there sleuthing.
I feel like there's very few from his perspective.
No. I feel the opposite, because I feel like Lois, she does her sleuthing basically to operate or to walk into the ship and find him, but then everything after that, I mean, it's all Clark, and she needs to be that perspective. And after that, I mean, she really doesn't do anything in the movie. She sort of acts as
there.
She's just there.
But she's the one who drops the bomb. She fights. She gets the story out.
She doesn't drop the bomb.
She's in the jet when it drops.
She's on the plane.
She's on the plane.
And she jumps out of the plane, and Superman rescues. She doesn't do it. And why is she on a military plane? She's a journalist. Why
it's really goofy that she's on it. But she gets she launches, she starts the process. She gets
she touches like a button. Is that what you're saying?
She just said start. But
I guess that's important.
She says you should launch the bomb.
But I don't like the idea of Lois Lane for the comics because it's that like not stereotype, but like it's the patriarchy. It's you have to have a woman at your side.
It is the patriarchy, Dallas. I agree. But
what she does for Superman is she also helps him be human. Like that's kind of what my wife does to me when I feel like I am all over the place. I can come home in her arms and she grounds me. And I feel like that's what Lois Lane is to Superman, and that's what she is in the comics. And I felt it in this movie, but I can see how it's not.
In order for Lois Lane to humanize Superman, Clark Kent, she also needs to be written as a human character. And
I think she is.
I do not get the sense.
I got her as a strong, badass woman.
Maybe in the most generic sense possible, because she was on that military plane for no reason.
No, at the beginning when she's telling the officer, she's like, are we done swinging dicks? Can we get into this?
She has the dick measuring thing. Yeah, sure.
And she takes charge in the office.
Sure, she quips. Yeah. She quips. I agree.
But I mean, the office, she fights back with her boss about what should be written for the people.
Yes, Lois Lane is a journalist and she cares about the story, and that's about it.
Justin, who do you think writes women better, Zack Snyder or Christopher Nolan?
Well, Christopher Nolan's women tend to be dead wives who died before the story even started. So, no, it's a toss-up for me, I think. Genuinely, I think that.
Flip of a coin, honestly.
I think it can be a flip of a coin.
You don't think he writes her very well?
That's not really his character to write.
Well, I mean, Zack Snyder, the Snyder cut, that's all his writing of. I think I love how he writes women. He makes women very powerful and very strong.
Well,
and I like that. He lets them be the heroes. He doesn't let Wonder Woman. This is a different movie, but Wonder Woman chops off the bad guy's head at the end. It's not Superman.
Sure.
And I love that Zack Snyder lets the women do that. He lets Lois Lane be on the ship even though she doesn't do shit. But everyone's gonna die, so at least put her there to be a part of the system.
I think Snyder's probably an ally. I think he's
I don't know about all that, but yeah.
I just don't what motivates Lois Lane as a character.
She wants to get the story.
She wants to get the story.
She's such a journalist. And then she also ends up at a place where I don't even know why Clark Kent is there. Why he just ends up places. Any motivation for him to be there is so heavily implicit. I think his Superman is vanilla. I don't really like.
I think a lot of Man of Steel is mental, and I think that's where some of the disconnect comes from. A lot of his struggles are all inside his head and doesn't convey well on screen or like out loud.
Because
like,
he broods.
Because he broods. But like Man of Steel, like
He's brooding.
These questions that you guys have, I feel like are answered to me. Like all of him like looking around is him following the tracks to find his birthplace. Is him finding Krypton, finding where he comes from. That's why when he goes home and hugs Martha, he's like, I found my parents, I found my home. That's what I've been searching for.
I understand that he's on a journey of self-discovery. I get it. I just don't think that what he discovers is all that interesting to me.
But like he found where he came from. Like you're 20 years old and you're an alien.
Yeah.
And you don't know where you're coming from.
And maybe that's important.
You're an orphan and you're trying to find your parents.
Yeah, maybe that's important in like an academic sense because you write a character and their backstory should be important. And I know that as an audience member, like I know I should care.
Right.
I don't care. Why don't I care? And I think it's because Snyder struggles making his Superman very likable, very human, very relatable, despite the fact that he has this all-American upbringing. So he's tapping into, like I said, this sort of comic imagery, this comical because it's stereotypical. It's so cliched. So he's tapping into this, but at the same time, he wants to present this brooding, complex Superman, but I don't get a sense that there's anything below the surface. And that's my issue with the character. Contrast that with Christian Bale's Batman, his in Christopher Nolan's movie. I feel like he's a very complex character. I mean, for a comic book character.
I get the exact opposite. And I really don't understand why I do, because like I have this argument. I have this discussion with a lot of people that like, I don't understand why people don't get that out of Man of Steel and why I've been through a lot of trauma and a lot of really intense things that really f***ed up my head. And like, I see a lot of that brooding and a lot of that deeper side of Man of Steel. And that could just be me interpreting stuff. That's every kind of art is your interpretation of it. But like, I see all these issues that people have with Man of Steel, and I feel like they're answered clearly on screen. And Batman Begins is such a all over the place movie with me. Like it feels like Nolan's Batman is so inconsistent as far as his feelings and his like drive.
In this one movie, or just across
especially this one
trilogy?
movie. Yeah, like in Batman Begins, I feel like he's all over the place because he's coming hot off of American Psycho, and I feel like you see some of that in some of the scenes, but also he's trying to find his Batman that he finds later in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Returns. And Batman Begins feels like an in-between of him trying to figure out if he's like he does, it's like a really big budget superhero movie. And like before that, the only ones you got are like Blade and Spider-Man. And like, so you have Christian Bale, who's this really high performance, like super elite actor, and he's coming off of American Psycho, which he just got famous for, and he's not sure what he should do, if he should play it serious, if he should play it kind of quirky. And like when he's human, like when he's Bruce Wayne, I feel like his character is so boring and so annoying. Like he just says some dumb shit.
I got a lot of character from his performance as Bruce Wayne because I see where he gets his touch of the theatrical that translates to Batman. Yeah. His Batman is very realistic, very brooding. And then he also he plays the part of the billionaire so well and just like is so kind of
that's his real mask, as he said.
Yeah. This is whatever. Yep. but
like,
no, it's true. Yeah, no, that is very true.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the credit there goes to Nolan. I think this is sort of a transitional period in Nolan's career as well, where you kind of can divide it into like early, mid, and late.
Yeah, for sure.
This is well into late at this point.
Yeah,
but this is mid, and I think. Not mid.
Yes.
No, it's mid.
But I think, I actually think that his style translates incredibly effectively to this genre, and I kind of think these are some of his best movies.
It could be my comic bookiness coming in again about like that, my gripe with that, because again, that pulls away from the character of Batman to me, because like his billionaire part, that's supposed to be fake. Like that's supposed to be him putting on a show for people.
And you didn't get that from this movie?
No, because like a lot of it was him just being a piece of shit. Like him being a piece of shit like to Alfred and being a piece of shit to Rachel and like the people at the diner. That didn't feel like him like putting on a show. And like Batman that's supposed to be like a show. It's not just supposed to be him pulling from his core. Like Batman was never that party guy. He was always someone who was depressed and devoted to like the struggle. And like, yeah, he might have partied a little bit here and there, but like his billionaire persona is supposed to be like so extravagant and extra because he's playing it up.
That's so strange because I think it's translated very effectively that he doesn't care. I mean, like he's even saying he doesn't care about the Wayne name, and Alfred's the one pushing him to even show up at these parties that he didn't plan on being at and doesn't give a shit about.
But that's only after Rachel told him, this is the slum, be Batman.
most of the movie takes place after that.
I guess I'm thinking like the court scene. Like I don't like the court scene.
You attribute a lot of Batman's growth in this movie to Rachel, and I think I don't see it that way. I think she points him in a direction that he fully sprints in.
But he didn't really want to go in that direction. He was like, I don't care.
It's like what you said, Jeff. He's a loaded gun.
Yeah.
And she points him.
He's completely aimless. I mean, he's doing like you say that Superman is aimless, Batman is aimless in I think a sense that's translated a lot clearer in this movie.
Yeah. I don't think Superman's aimless though.
You don't think Superman's aimless when he's just kind of traveling the world?
He's working on like an Alaskan like crab.
But he's trying to find his origin. That's not aimless.
While working on a crab boat?
Yeah. He's trying to find like he doesn't know where he's in. He doesn't know if he's in the water. He doesn't know if he's in ice. He doesn't know where he's from.
Okay, maybe he thinks he's like a crab guy and he's like trying to.
I know, like he literally just.
Why does he go there? Why does he even? Did I miss a clue about why he would go to the Arctic to find something?
He's just searching the globe. Like he has super hearing and like he has X-rays, so he's trying to find places that give him clues of like where he's. We don't get a lot of that because it's not. It'd be really boring to just be like him following this step. But he's just trying to find his parents. He's just trying to find his origin.
I don't know.
That's his adventure.
I feel like the big beard and him just sort of looking kind of ratty. Like to me, it's like ennui. Like
that's why he broods, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he has to have some level of aimlessness to brood.
Well, yeah, I mean,
right?
so there is a sense of aimlessness because he is lost. Like he wants to find his parents. So that's the aimlessness of it. But he wants to do so. Like he has a drive.
I think if you want to show that Clark Kent has a drive, you don't open up with him fishing for crabs. Like I don't like that's just not like
why
you open up with him doing something that's actively searching for his parents. If that's what you want to convey.
But he's feeding people. Like you can't search for your parents 24/7, right? He's trying to have a humanity. Like he's helping people.
But why is
where he in the most dangerous job in the world, like crab fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs. So he's trying to feed people using his abilities while also hunting for his parents. Like you can't just be 24/7 looking for them.
Yeah,
so like
and
that's
this is another issue with Snyder. He throws too much at the. If that's okay, sure, I can accept that Superman might have. Yeah, he's doing more than just one thing at once. But I think when you introduce your character and you just sort of want to convey like right off the bat what's going on.
So
if you're trying to convey that they're not aimless, you don't show them working just some job.
I'm with you on it. So that's where we're talking about like more the movie and the comic thing. Like the comic feels better for me, but the movie, I'm with you. That's not really a good way to explain a character in a movie.
Yeah.
But coming from like a comic background, I really like that idea of where they start Superman because I see that and I get that because later whenever he hugs Martha and tells her I found my parents, his whole demeanor changes. He literally like chest puffed out. He's Superman then. Like he has that confidence. And before that he's lost and trying to find his parents.
Yeah, but to me it almost feels like he kind of stumbles on his parents or like his origin instead of like he's sleuthing. Like I would be an interesting, I think, kind of parallel with Lois Lane, who's an investigative journalist.
To a degree, he did stumble upon it though.
That's what I'm saying. He just kind of stumbles onto it.
That's the thing is he doesn't know where his parents are. He doesn't know what his parents are. He doesn't even know if
I might
like he knows he's alien, but he doesn't know like if an alien spaceship crashed or like he's just kind of like he is aimless because he's stumbling around. He doesn't know if he's ever going to find anything.
So he is aimless. I think that's a fair characterization. I don't think he's super.
But he has a drive of trying to find his parents. He just hasn't understood that.
It's more just like if I found him, it'd be nice.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And in the meantime, I guess I still will continue to not use my powers.
I will continue to be a crab fisherman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. You're right. He's feeding people. I mean, props to
so
him.
it's like that's like
I didn't see anybody eat. I think that's why
I thought it was funny though because like right after that he steals some dude's clothes. Like,
that's true.
He's helping people and then like he gets off the boat. He's like, yeah, those look like some warm clothes.
So let me ask you: do you think Snyder directed this movie? Because I think Nolan made, especially Batman Begins, to sort of open his arms to all audiences to say, let's all.
Yeah, Zack Snyder did not do that. No. So
okay.
Nolan made a blockbuster movie. He saw the issues of the Batman character and made it better on screen. Zack Snyder saw the positive aspects and the deeper aspects of these characters on paper and put his artistic vision on screen and said, F you. If you like it, you love it. If you don't, I don't care.
By omitting a lot of details that the comics cover, but it's still a blockbuster movie.
So I think that's where it was flawed is that it was advertised as a blockbuster. It's supposed to be the next big Superman movie, but really it's just like an indie art film to me. Like it's Zack Snyder's indie artistic interpretation of these comic book characters. And
That's
I think a lot of gripe comes from that.
I've heard people who defend Zack Snyder say that about a lot of his stuff. You know, that's why we got the Snyder Cut chant, because I think people thought that, I guess the original theatrical Justice League was trying to appeal to too many people and felt like a watered down Marvel Joss Whedon mess.
It was a different movie because like Zack Snyder wanted Cyborg to be the heart of his Snyder Cut, but Warner Brothers was racist and didn't want a black guy to be the lead. So they literally said you need to shelf this character and rewrite your movie. So that's why the Joss Whedon cut focuses more on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, because that's what they wanted. They wanted the general audience, white people, to pay for him and see white people. And Zack Snyder doesn't do that. He literally fought back for years, and he gave up because his kid committed suicide and he couldn't take the pressure of fighting back anymore.
Right, and then it fell into Joss Whedon's hands, and we all know what happened after.
So like Man of Steel was like all Zack Snyder's vision, and then like people were like fighting against it, so he kind of get more pushback from Warner Brothers, and that's, you kind of just get more and more pushback.
Do you think all the brand tie-ins, was that part of Zack Snyder's vision? All this?
I think it was. Like I know you're being funny, but like I think it to create art, if you guys have created art, it's a very expensive hobby. To create art, you want to create that's good art, you need great tools. To create great things, you need fantastic tools. So like
I feel like he was given a blank check to make a Superman movie. Like he didn't need to put all the sponsors.
Did they need to have a fight sequence in an IHOP?
Yeah, I mean that's part of the budget.
Outside of a Sears.
Yeah, I think the budget is an important part to Man of Steel, because I think it visually looks like a high budget film.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about some visuals.
Okay,
let's talk about
what's the action here.
So let's talk about action. Yeah, I think
let's go back to Batman. So visuals.
So we were having a pre-recording discussion. You were talking about how many cuts during this opening sequence with Batman.
The first time you get Batman in a full Batman outfit,
which is over an hour into the movie, which I applaud that creativity.
I do. Yeah. I love when they wait to give you the visual. So in this scene, he does. Nolan does 31 cuts in 20 seconds, and I slowed it down to quarter speed and watched it several times to make sure I counted.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right. So 31 cuts in 20 seconds, and you don't get to see Batman in his full suit at all here. You only see clips of people scared and whatnot. And there's a couple arguments to this. So the one argument is that that's what Batman's supposed to feel like. You're supposed to feel like you didn't even see him, that he's so quick, he's so scary. You don't know what he looks like. You can't even depict him because he's so scary. So in a sense, Nolan directs it very well to convey that to an audience.
Sure.
But the other thing is show the action. Like I always bring up the warehouse scene in Batman v Superman, because Batman gets to show off all his tools. He fights a whole crowd of people. It's not one-on-one. He's putting 3 people down over here so he can fight this person.
Right.
And that's a classic Batman
maneuver.
You're
talking about Batfleck when he shows up in the warehouse.
And there's very few cuts.
You mentioned that scene to me before this, and I actually watched it. It's the only thing I've really seen Ben Affleck's Batman. I watched, the Justice League, which I guess I don't really remember him very much in that. But
he's kind of a background character. But that's one scene that I feel...
in the warehouse, I actually really liked it.
I feel like it shows the action very well. I feel like it conveys the character of Batman as a scary, fast, brooding person, but also very skilled and uses his tools. Like I feel like... But also, again, this it's 2 different comparisons, because Zack Snyder's Batman is 50 years aged Batman, very well skilled. Nolan's Batman is year 1 Batman. And year 1 Batman is always a complex Batman. In the comics and the movies that do year 1 Batman, what's he doing in his first year? Right. How does he get his ropes? Where is he up? What's his stuff? So it's kind of hard to compare those two, but that's my big thing about the action. So like the cutting, the visuals is
right.
The quick cutting was a big thing that I didn't like.
But Snyder gives you the polar opposite in Man of Steel, because he's not directing Batman, he's directing Superman, and instead of cutting a bunch, you're getting very
long pants and stuff.
Yeah, well, not even that.
You're
digital
just getting camera,
digital, body movements as well, and the way that he directs action has been influential, I will say. I mean, Chloe Zhao cited the way that his characters move as an inspiration for Eternals.
Really?
Very highly regarded Marvel movie. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, when you have those super enhanced characters, you got to show how fast they can move, and Snyder does that in Man of Steel. Shows the buildings.
So that's falling. One thing that people are upset about sometimes too, is that like people feel like you don't get the weight of it. Like when you're fighting in the air, you don't get the weight of the fight. But I feel like you get that in Man of Steel. I feel like it's pretty good at that.
I want to go back to Batman Begins real quick, just because I'm kind of because we're talking about this like rapid cutting, and I'm kind of 2 minds about it. And one is agreeing with the idea that, especially the first time you see or Batman's doing his whole thing, like you don't want to be seeing a ton.
Right.
I think the reveal of him pulling Falcone out of the car and saying, "I'm Batman," that's great. Like I think that's great. It's iconic.
Yeah.
That's the perfect first time to see him. I don't need to see him beating up some random goon. I do think that the rest of like because I rewatched the whole Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
There's some dodgy editing.
There is, because he's shooting on film too. So when people are in the background, they have to hit their cues whether Batman hits them or not. So like you'll notice people in the background fall, and that's another reason they do quick cuts in Nolan stuff, because they're doing a play on set. They have to act it out in one go.
I think there's some merit to the idea that kind of taking a step back and letting the action play out without too many cuts would be beneficial. I also think that Nolan is thinking, I'm redefining the superhero genre right now, and I don't want to show a man in a rubber suit like fight a bunch of people.
But Blade did that. He didn't reinvent that. Like there's a dark, brooding guy in a leather suit and a ton of cuts in the action.
Blade's just not on the same cultural like level as Batman.
But still, it was the original Batman trilogy. Like it's literally like the same dark, brooding comic book fighting squad. It's just a fucked up guy kind of fighting against an army of people.
Yeah, but Blade doesn't dress like a bat. I don't know. I just feel like there's something inherently silly in Batman, and I think Nolan taps into that, like with the one-liners and stuff in Batman Begins.
Theatrics too,
and the theatrics.
Yeah. I think this is the goofiest he allows his Batman to be.
Yes.
And this is his Batman story. By the time we get to the Dark Knight, it's not even Batman or Bruce Wayne's story anymore. It kind of goes over to Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent's
story, 100%.
I find this version of Batman very compelling.
His like Batman is always like goofy because I compare it to Snyder, and you can't compare it. You just can't, because there are two different Batmans. But also I wanted to bring up we talked about the suits. So the suits are an issue of that time. So now modern suits are basically all latex, and they're all like kind of fabric, so they're easy to move in, but they look like they're armor, and so you can get a lot more movement and creative arm twists and things to show off a advanced fighter. But at the time of the Batman, they didn't have a lot of people in the suit department of the creation team. They had people who would make outfits, but to create a superhero suit, you literally have to go, let's create a super suit. Like do we use nylon? Do we use Kevlar? What do we use to actually create a super suit? So you have a crew in the back making a suit that might not be the most flexible, but looks like an appealing Batman. Well, and you had some of that issue with Christopher Nolan's Batman. Also, Christian Bale is f***ing huge. He came in I think he came in 20 or 30 pounds overweight, and they made him like lose weight for the suit because he was so stiff. He couldn't like move.
If he's going to gain, he's going to gain. If he's going to lose, he's going to lose.
Yeah.
Versus something like Henry Cavill's suit is not difficult to move around.
Right. It's just fabric. It's literally just
something like that might make it very easy to go from one action set piece to the next, and then the whole last hour of the movie becomes one long fight scene. That's
when it's hard to even like compare them because of that. Like it's a thing of a times. Like that's like trying to look at old things and compare it to CGI. Like old craft to CGI. Like they're two different realms.
Oh yeah, I guess we should probably talk about the CGI in Man of Steel, because a lot of the action sequences have to end up being, primarily CGI.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels kind of weightless. I don't know. Yeah. Do you all get that sense?
I don't.
It's mass destruction, but you feel like it should.
I don't necessarily think it feels weightless, but I did get fatigued. It drags.
I think the camera work helps with the weight. But I do agree with the dragging, and some scenes weigh on a little longer. But I think the weight comes from like the digital zooms and in the jerks of the camera, like having the camera be.
Are there scenes in this movie? I don't know. I kind of just like it. Kind of all just meshes together.
The last like hour, basically.
It's just like one big action sequence.
To me, like I think of every segment. Like I was explaining the one of like the shot of him going in the building as it's falling. I love that shot, and the shot of Zod trying to hit him with the beam, and him melting the beam down to it just being there, and then him still hitting him with the bottom of the beam, and then like Zod throwing Superman into throwing a gas truck at him for it to like explode behind him. Like all those scenes are very specific and iconic to me. It's like I don't understand why I like this movie so much, and I get confused why all that stuff seems so compelling to me and so distinct to me. Like I don't understand how it can mesh. Like with you guys, like how it kind of flows into one solid thing. But like, I feel like that might be the comic book aspect a little bit. But
I think there's a lot of like just trying to go balls to the walls and put every action thing that you want in this hour-long fight scene. That's a lot of people have the problem with his Watchmen. If you have a problem with it, you're saying that he misses the point by including all the gratuitous violence that the original comic was commenting on. And I actually do kind of like Watchmen.
I Watchmen's a little weird for me, but I just think like the fight sequence is long because it's real. Like Superman is trying not to kill Zod. Like he wants to incapacitate him. He's trying to find every way to use his strength, his mind to not hurt the people around him and to actually take this man down. And he gets pushed to the point of seeing that, oh, some people just can't be stopped. Some people have to be stopped with extreme measures. And I feel like that like hour-long buildup of fight kind of is that internal struggle. And again, that's be totally me just picking up shit, making shit up in my brain. But that's a lot of the vibe I get from all of Zack Snyder's stuff. What he puts a lot of the mental stuff into it and doesn't say or show as well.
But
and
yeah.
And, you know, you're supposed to show and tell in a movie. But like I get that from it a lot. That long fight is him showing Superman doing everything he can to not kill Zod.
And that's interesting because that's Batman's whole shtick.
Yeah.
Is that thou shalt not kill. That's his one rule.
And but that's also a Nolan rule. That he kills in the comics. No one ever explicitly stated it till Nolan like stated it. Or not Nolan. No, I think Tim Burton. One of the older Batman movies.
That makes him compelling to me though. That like in these fights that's kind of what he's doing. Whereas like, you know, I kind of forget what's going on when Superman's fighting. And that's been a thing for me lately with action movies is like, I think it's very difficult for me to be engaged with a lot of action sequences in modern movies. And especially movies of the past like 15 years, they all just kind of lose me at the end.
I think so too. Yeah. Like
even Batman Begins, it's not, you know, guiltless here.
Watching Oldboy with you guys made me really love that action scene of the hallway scene. Like,
well, yeah, because you can direct it well, you can do it well, but I think a lot of people don't know exactly what it is that makes it interesting. There has to be some sort of motivation to a lot of it, and I think that the cuts that you're saying Nolan uses too much of, they kind of lose my interest, and then I think that Snyder's insistence to kind of draw everything out really loses me because it never had me to begin with, really. Right. And then by the time it ends, I don't know who's died. I don't know who's still there. I don't know who actually pressed the button and dropped the bomb.
Yeah. By the time it ends, I'm ready for a nap, and I've completely forgotten about the movie I'm supposed to be talking about.
It's funny you say that because I forget like who dropped the bomb too until you like say it. But like I like that character. I don't even know his name, but I like him because he's the one that stands up against the aliens that come to Earth, and he goes, "You're not taking one of ours." You know, they just give him to her. But like he like literally he sees what Superman can do, that he can just break a chain like breathing air, and he like squares up with these aliens and goes, "You're not taking one of ours." And he's the one who fights against Superman too and tells his people that Superman is on his side. And like I love that character. He goes to fight one of them with a knife. Like that's what I mean by like Man of Steel doesn't feel like it's about Superman. Like I feel like it's about all those characters. Like I learned a lot about Lois. I learned a lot about him. I learned a lot about Martha. I learned a lot about the journalists and like the city of Metropolis. There is some Superman stuff in there, but the movie to me is a lot about Man of Steel, not Superman. It's what creates a Man of Steel. The people that create a Man of Steel, the people around you. It's not Superman doesn't create himself. It's the people that warp him, whereas Batman creates himself. It's kind of like the dichotomy there.
You were literally saying the real Man of Steel is the friends we make along the way.
Exactly, yeah.
Why do we force? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
You still haven't given up on me.
Never.
This has been a long and storied discussion. I feel like I want to make one final point, and then maybe we can move on to questions.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to talk about escalation, like the escalation of threats and the escalation of violence. I feel like you go to Batman Begins, you have 3 villains, right? In Batman Begins.
Juggles them pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Well, you have like the criminals of Gotham. You can just kind of
Falcone's kind of the
Falcone.
Here's what I'll say. You could even say 4 if you want to count Joe Chill, who's the man who kills. He's sort of in the prologue or the flashback.
You got Scarecrow and you got.
But really, you have Falcone, who's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
Then you have Scarecrow, who's not a regular guy, but really all he does is throw gas at some people and scare them with his mask. And then you have Ra's al Ghul, who is the main bad guy. He's the big one. He's got this big, doomsday plot.
Yeah.
You have an escalation. You have a clear tier, the stepped ladder all the way up till the final boss.
And conversations about it too, sort of in that epilogue where, they do the sequel tease with the Joker. And you start, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead to your point.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's a good point. I think the Dark Knight trilogy does do an escalation.
But he also, I think it's funny when he does that, that trilogy, Gordon tells Batman the exact problem with Batman.
Yeah, he's like you start firing semi-automatics, they start buying automatics.
Yeah, and he's like, you're going to create the problem.
And it made me think of Man of Steel, because we go into Man of Steel, and the only reason that Zod and his cronies come to Earth is basically because Superman activates
the ship. Yeah.
Scout ship. So Superman is the inciting.
He's
incident.
The call to action almost.
Well, I mean, he's, like I said, he's the inciting. He's the spark that lights up wildfire is really what he is. I think the problem I have with Man of Steel is that there is no sense of escalation. You never see Superman beat up a criminal. You never see him save somebody from a burning building. The Superman things from
Well, this is also him learning to be Superman.
Yeah,
he does save
it's a goddamn.
This crab.
But he saves the bus full of kids. A couple saves.
I guess there is that in the past, and that's true, and that's fair. But I do think this, if this is about him becoming Superman, this is a goddamn crash course, because it's immediately the Kryptonians come down to Earth, and now it's time to go balls to the wall, and that's why the whole last hour for me feels so exhausting. I don't get a sense of any escalation. I get a sense of just pure sustained violence and confrontation.
Yeah, it's like they start strong, right? They give you all this Krypton fight, this hardcore energy. Like you're already intense, and then they just drop down, and you're like, oh, Papa Kent, and you're just like watching this like this like small story that's like a little simpler, and then immediately go into that rush, like you say. There's like no no smooth transition.
I'm just talking about like the villains. I mean, that opening sequence I think deserves its own podcast episode, because it is.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But like, especially when the villains like show up in Man of Steel and they are there to make their threat known. It's not like Batman Begins, where it's like it starts with Falcone. Well, like I said, really starts with Joe Chill, works its way up to Falcone, then Scarecrow, then Ra's al Ghul.
Superman is like Lois Lane, Zod. That's it.
No, I mean, I guess you could consider Lois Lane a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, because she like kind of just be like, I'm gonna rat you out, bitch.
I'm gonna rat you out, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like a societal pressure there,
like
but
very, very little. It's like
very
it's
little.
hardly anything.
The U.S. military, I guess, kind of like it wants to.
No, you're right. No, it goes from 0 to 100.
It goes
literally 0 to 100. Yeah,
and that's the issue. That's what's so exhausting to me about Man of Steel, is that I don't get a sense of like a competent screenplay. Like,
so it's in that sense, it's the comic book thing again, because it's kind of hard to bring Zod into the picture without that, because like Zod, they're trapped in a wormhole prison. So when he released, he wants to kill Superman as soon as he's released.
Sure, yeah, but like I said, show Superman fighting like petty crime, or show him like.
It took Zod to like pull him out as Superman, though.
But apparently not, because I mean, he saved the kids on the school bus. So
right, but he wasn't going to keep doing that. He just found his parents, and he was going to go back to being whatever.
It wasn't Zod who made Superman.
Yeah,
was it? I feel like, because he goes to the ship and he gets the cost. His dad's like, you're meant to be this great savior.
Yeah,
all this stuff.
But like he still was contemplating whether he actually wanted to do that. He put on the suit, but like to me, it felt like he was still kind of questioning whether he wanted to actually help people or not. And then Zod kind of forces his hand.
To me, it kind of feels like he does whatever his dad says. I mean, that's kind of the impression I got. First, Dad says, don't even save me as this tornado slowly consumes me. Like, don't even like walk at a normal speed and pull me away. That wouldn't even give away your powers.
But that's the confusion, or like the human side to me for Man of Steel is like he like that's the struggle of him listening to his dad. He's not listening to his dad. He's trying to listen to his dad. And in that instance, he does, like when he doesn't save his dad, but his brain's telling him not to listen to his dad. And like when he gets the suit, his dad tells him to be Superman, but his brain's telling him not to. But he's trying to do what his dad tells him to, but his internal clock is saying, I don't really want to help that many people. Like I kind of just want to chill and not be the god that you guys want me to be. And they explore that more in Batman v Superman and Justice League, but like that's his Superman to me. Is he's like, he doesn't want to be the god, but he gets pushed on him, and his daddy issues are like he's struggling to figure out which dad he wants to listen to, or like what voice he wants to.
I think if you want to show Clark Kent not wanting to be the god that saves everybody, you don't put him on a crab boat which is a very dangerous job on its own, but also he happens to be near like an oil refinery that explodes and he instantly jumps into the water to save these people. I don't get the sense that he is actually that hesitant to save people. I get the sense that he really wants to do it.
Not hesitant, but not seeking. Is what I mean. He's not seeking out to be Superman seeks out to help people.
You're saying like
I'm saying he's just there and he's not going to let people die. He's not going to let people suffer.
He's a passive savior.
He's a passive
in his direct line of sight.
He's like a baby, basically.
Yeah, because he can't even fly then.
He has no object permanence.
The danger doesn't exist. Yeah. But he doesn't fly then yet because he learned to fly later in the movie. So like he's not just scoping out trouble. He's just there's danger.
It was a skill issue, is what you're saying.
Yeah. He didn't know to push himself to be Superman. That's kind of like what his dad did. He pushed him to go push yourself. You can fly. Like you can f some shit up because he just thought, oh yeah, I can lift some stuff sometimes. I can punch a guy sometimes. Sometimes I get angry, my eyes get hot. Sometimes I can see X-ray, but nothing really kind of told him to push.
He never like played basketball and tried to dunk. And,
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a flashback.
He never like just worked out. And, like,
yeah. I was just imagining like he's on a pogo stick and like goes like 50 feet up in the air. He's like,
he just like stops up there. He's like, how do I get down?
You're supposed to fall.
Yeah. I love hearing your perspective on this movie, Dallas, because it is a controversial one.
It is.
You know, I have opinions about it. Jeff has opinions on it. So
I really like talking about it in general to like anyone because of how divisive it is for people. Like Batman Begins is less divisive because it's just generally a good film. Like, you know, you may have some comic book nerds who have issues with it, but Man of Steel creates like film that like, Man of Steel creates a film that you love or hate. And like, it's interesting that directors can do that and portray a idea that is always seen as everyone loves to now, oh wait, do you love this or do you not love it? And I like talking about it because I don't fully understand why I enjoy it either. And it's always interesting to kind of bounce off other people and kind of learn more about yourself as to why you actually enjoy something you enjoy. Yeah. Like I know there's certain things I like, but I don't understand why like my gut tells me this is an enjoyable experience.
Sure. That's why we're here. We'll learn about each other.
Maybe we can learn a little bit more with some questions.
Here's some questions.
Let's go.
Who wants to kick? Tristan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I got 3 questions here today, so I'm going to start with my first one. Okay. Who would you rather save your city and why? Dallas, I think we should open with you.
Okay. Do I get a degree of danger or just in general saving my city?
Just saving the city. You could assume that the city is under attack in some form. There's a city.
So the big thing with this has been asked a lot for comic nerds forever, but the big thing is like Batman, if he has time, Batman wins every time. If Batman doesn't have time, you kind of go Superman. As far as these two characters, I would kind of prefer Superman because I see Batman as more of a year one Batman. Like he's more of an amateur Batman. Like he's getting his ground, he's getting his foot. But like if Ra's al Ghul made a couple better moves, he might not have made it to the end of the movie. Because but Superman, you know, he's kind of is going to take a lot to take him down. So it's kind of like a default answer almost.
There's no fucking way I'm living in your city then, because there's no city left at the end of Man of Steel. I'm choosing Batman because I'm going to most people are probably going to survive, right?
Man of Steel eats the rich, you know, takes down all those corporate buildings.
He eats the rich, the poor, you know, anybody on the street.
Equal, you know?
Everybody gets eaten.
Batman's first like thing to do in Batman Begins is to isolate the island that the vapors on, like the fear causing.
But he also destroys Gotham driving through with Rachel in his car. And literally flattens people. He almost murders cops. He drives over their car and then they cut to him in the crushed car.
Cops aren't people.
Cops aren't people. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. Obviously, I want to live in a city, so I want it to actually be saved and not destroyed. So.
I like it.
Dallas, do you want to maybe ask?
Yeah. So I think we kind of discussed a little bit in our discussion, but my first question there was what do you think keeps Man of Steel from being regarded as great as like the Dark Knight trilogy? Because they are basically equal as far as the characters in the American public. So these two directors are known as great directors in some sense and known as bad directors in some sense. So why does the Dark Knight trilogy hold up so well? Is it because of the blockbusterness of it or what?
You know, you keep saying that as if Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's work isn't also.
I don't feel like it's blockbustery though, because he goes so introspective with it.
I don't.
He doesn't play to the like. I see blockbuster as playing to the general audience.
It's a movie that ends with an hour of citywide destruction. It's not. I can't call that introspective. Like I can't call that introspective.
Right.
Now maybe everything before that. Maybe there's something there that I'm just not picking up on. But the way the movie ends, I mean, that's blockbuster.
But it's not. Yeah, a blockbuster visually, but blockbuster in the sense of. To me, I'm saying like
CG schlock fest
for the general audience, like Terminator 2. I don't know, was that made for a general audience?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
I mean
maybe
that's
people who saw the first one. I mean, I think to answer your question, Dallas, that like I don't think it's a knock against any movie necessarily to say that it tries to appeal to a lot of people.
No, of course not. No,
yeah. And I think Batman Begins does it. I think it keeps. It's like I think it strikes a really rich balance by channeling Nolan's like his preference for the grandiose, and he channels it into a superhero movie that kind of like might have been one of the initial sparks for the craze that Iron Man solidified
easily,
in the MCU.
Yeah.
And so I think for that reason, I think it also still kind of stands the test of time. I think it's a movie that I enjoy. I really enjoyed going back and watching it. I also think Batman Begins in particular has had sort of a reconsideration in terms of like The Dark Knight maybe has dipped a little bit in public opinion, but Batman Begins I don't think has had that sort of decay. I think maybe I've talked to people who say they like it better than The Dark Knight.
Yeah. I mean, I follow like a lot of people on Letterboxd, and a lot of them really prefer Batman
See,
Begins.
now that's not something I've ever heard, because like I discuss these movies a lot with like comic nerds, and they always say Dark Knight over Begins all day, every day.
I think that's the kind of the stock answer, and that maybe it's just a contrarian thing to kind of go against it now.
Well, I think he kind of finds his Batman more in like the later, and that's where like comic books like that.
Well,
more.
it's like what Jeff was saying. Like he becomes less of a character. Harvey Dent becomes more of the center of the story. Anyways, my answer to your question. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that I just regard Man of Steel as a poorer film. I think it is trying to deconstruct. I appreciate deconstructions. I like deconstructions. I don't think it succeeds because I think that the messaging of the film is confused. I think if you really wanted to deconstruct Superman, you would deconstruct it in the way that The Boys did it, or Brightburn would do it.
Yeah,
I think this is just
shooting for the stars and not quite.
I don't know what it's shooting for, but whatever it is, I think it misses.
So it's like an interpretation thing almost, or like a delivery that like the interpretation kind of keeps it from kind of getting there more so.
I just feel like Zack Snyder's worst impulses, which are basically to put whatever looks on the screen that he thinks is cool, I think that detracts from whatever message he's actually going to go for. I think his
That's
visual
a really
style,
good point. Yeah.
I think his visual style is contradictory.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it actually holds up.
I think that's an important aspect of it, that like a lot of stuff I talk about is me interpreting and me knowing about like behind the scenes stuff and comic book stuff. It's like, but the actual film itself, if you don't have that context, I can see where there's quite a big disconnect between the two for sure.
Jeff, you want to go to your first?
Yeah, what you got, bud?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the product placement in Man of Steel. So I wanted to ask, how much money do you think it would cost to put a company's logo on Superman's chest? And who do you think would actually fork it up for the caliber of that sort of product placement? Like maybe like a DuPont?
Craftsman all the way.
No, you gotta do Nike, right? You got
the swoosh, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
What does the swoosh stand for on your planet? It's like
Hope,
yeah.
Or really fast.
As for how much money, I mean,
probably like the Mercedes-Benz symbol, just like
you wouldn't even be Superman anymore. Just be Nike Man.
Yeah.
Nike Man with an asterisk. Yeah. Okay.
The Nike stands for Superman.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do my next question. If you all were a superhero, what would your costume look like, Jeff?
It would have a deep V. That's for damn sure.
Real deep.
You'd be deep V man?
Yeah, I'm just assuming that if I was a superhero, I'd be in better shape so I could show off the hair a little more and not worry about this paunch I've been building over the past 6 months.
The paunch.
Maybe it comes with a girdle.
Alfred, put my girdle on.
But you got to do the deep V and something with some rolled up sleeves. And,
okay. Wow.
Okay.
Kind of rugged.
Yeah.
Kind of rugged metrosexual look.
Yeah.
something lumberjacky.
Kind of describing the way you're
facial
looking
hair?
right now. You're just like describing your
I
outfit.
like my style, if I'm being honest, and I don't want to lose it in some sort of glow up.
Okay.
Do you have like facial hair? I'm imagining like a Fu Manchu, like mustache, like
I'll
Doctor
do the
Strange.
goatee, the lone goatee.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Dallas, what about
Definitely
you?
a muscle suit. Yeah.
Oh.
For those days that I'm just not
Goose
feeling
suit.
it. I want some padding, some muscle suit. I definitely got to be fireproof and stab proof because I feel like I'd want to fuck around a lot with fire and knives.
Oh, okay.
But as far as like color and style, it's kind of hard for me to visualize that. But I'd probably lean towards the Batman style, of like a darker hidden ninja style. Because like I like if I was to fight crime, I wouldn't want to do it in the day because any kind of suit, you'd look like just weird, just running around in the streets with a suit on.
Are you brooding? Are you going to be brooding on buildings?
Yeah, you gotta brood if you're fighting crime. That's
fair.
part
I'm
of
rooting
it.
for you.
Yeah.
What do you got, Dallas? What do you got?
Deep V. So my question here is how do you think the movies would play if the leads were swapped? Say we got a nice Henry Cavill Batman or Christian Bale Superman. What kind of movie do you think we would see? Maybe same director or different director. However you feel. What kind of film you got?
It's kind of hard for me to say because I don't see a lot of Cavill's range in the Superman role. But also, he could be a very good silent Batman because he's a silent Superman in this.
Yeah.
For Christian Bale, I don't think he could be in. I don't think Man of Steel is the same. I think fundamentally, if you change Christian Bale to Henry Cavill in Batman Begins, the movie doesn't change as much as if you put Christian Bale in Man of Steel. I think you get a Superman who is a lot more, carries himself with a little bit more suave, a little bit more swagger. That's kind of what I think Bale brings to the Batman role anyway. What do you think, Tristan?
I think that's probably true. I mean, Christian Bale has such a dark undercurrent to like all of his performances. Like Henry Cavill, I don't think it's quite the same. I don't think he's right. Like, I don't think Christian Bale would be right for Superman.
Yeah.
Unless you were going to go the Homelander route and
Right.
kind of reinterpret that character. I think Henry Cavill as Batman, I mean, he's got the looks, I guess. Like, he looks like a,
Isn't that funny
superhero.
though that like that kind of like casting is that important? Because I'm in the same boat. Like I feel like Henry Cavill as Batman, he wouldn't have the range like to really pull off that like.
I want to hear his
deeper-
Batman voice.
Yeah.
I want to hear what it sounds like.
Batman, but like
I want a Batman that just whispers, like when he says, here. Like,
You get Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending playing.
yeah, cut out all the parts where he screams his head off.
That's true, yeah.
So I feel like like a Henry Cavill Batman would. He might have the looks, but I don't think he'd play off the darker side, which is funny because like I see his darker side in Man of Steel, but also Christian Bale as a Superman, it's just not the right vibe. It's funny that like he has that vibe to him, even though he doesn't necessarily need typecasted because they both have range. Like they both are good in all the movies they're in, and they can play vastly different characters. Like Christian Bale in Ford v Ferrari is not Batman. He's a redneck car driving good old boy, and it's crazy that like he can do that, but still putting him in a Superman suit feels like weird or like it wouldn't give you a Superman vibe. So it's like that's another comment that comes about the new Superman coming out. Like I love Henry Cavill, like he's sexy as in that Superman suit, gorgeous, and like to see the new Superman, it feels like a downgrade. He's like he's not as cute, like he's not as like big, he's not as strong. He doesn't look like a Superman. He just kind of looks like a Hollywood actor, man. But like Henry Cavill looks like a Superman. Like
At least the new guy looks like he's having some fun.
yeah, for sure.
I think that the amount of heterosexual guys who find Henry Cavill super attractive vastly outweighs the amount of like women who would be attracted to. Yes, I that's what I've heard online.
Interesting.
A lot of women who are like, he's good looking, but he's not like guys really like deify.
You think he's
Cavill.
like that boring handsome?
He's
kinda?
boring handsome.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he's, and it's funny. The end of Man of Steel is like the army like girl.
Yeah,
who's
she's like, I think he's
I just
hot.
think he's hot,
Yeah.
which is like that feels like Zack Snyder. Just like I think Zack Snyder
Snyder's
thinks
drooling
Henry
over
Cavill's
Superman.
hot. Yeah,
Me and Zack Snyder are tuned in there. We're like, just can't stop drooling over him. Him in Mission Impossible, like again, cocking them arms, bro.
yeah, he does cock those arms. All right, Jeff, what's your next
It
question?
actually plays into my next question because it's a question of casting, but in the broader superhero kind of genre. Well, who do you guys think is like your favorite casting choice? Who's like synonymous with that character, like that superhero character?
Oh, that's a good question.
You get that conversation a lot about like, who's
Deadpool,
your favorite
100%.
Batman? You think Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of born to play. Like they literally described Deadpool as Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool comics, but Deadpool is kind of a newer character. Like he came out in the 90s, so he kind of came out around the time Ryan Reynolds. So they kind of almost influenced each other a bit.
Okay.
But that's a perfect cast for me. I'm sure there's other ones, but what do you think, Tristan?
I really don't know. I mean, I could joke and say like Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, like
Hugh Jackman. Now that's a Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman is.
Well, you just can't. Like he's not even like that similar to the original comics incarnation, but like you can't take the Hugh Jackman out of Wolverine now.
You can't.
I mean, you can't. He's so just ingrained in that character.
He just has that raw, primal, like Wolverine energy, and like it's not easy to pull that off as an actor, to pull off a like really primal character like that, and like because you can just yell, you can get angry, but that doesn't show the primal rage or like the primal feelings in you. And I think that's when like an actor really kind of pulls out their like performance.
I'm pretty old school. I mean, I think that Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man kind of goes without saying at the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of just. He's Iron Man.
Right. But, you have like 3 different Spider-Man, and you have like how many Batmans are we up to at this point? Like you don't get that sort of like, I like Christian Bale as Batman, but I don't think he's like that sort of like,
So
I don't think he is like the Batman to me.
No.
Yeah.
So in that sense, who's your favorite Batman and who's your favorite Bruce Wayne?
Oh, I mean, my favorite Batman, I guess it is Christian Bale. I mean, I could see a different interpretation of the character.
Okay.
Like I liked Robert Pattinson's interpretation.
So he would be. What about your favorite like version of Bruce Wayne? Because I feel like mine are different.
That's like when you say
like
who's your favorite Peter Parker and who's your favorite Spider-Man.
So like my favorite Batman is Ben Affleck, but my favorite like Bruce Wayne is. From the Lego movie, from the Lego Batman movie.
That actually is
that's like the best one.
You have to exclude.
That's
Will
one of the best
Arnett.
interpretations of Batman.
Because once Will Arnett's in the competition, everybody else has to bow.
I will say, I guess Chris Evans, he was definitely born to play.
Yeah,
Johnny
the Human
Storm.
Torch.
That's literally what I was about to say. The Human Torch.
All right.
He is not the perfect cast for Captain America. He makes a good Captain America, but his comedy style is very raunchy. It's very weird to see him as Captain America.
All right. Are you guys done with your questions?
That's all mine.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I guess we have reached the end of Hard Ticket, and we only have one more question to ask, which is, you're here at the theater, and I have a feeling, by the way, that we probably know the answers to this question.
It's not some big movie.
There's not a lot of suspense. You're at the theater. You need to you need to pick your hard ticket. All right, Dallas, are you watching Man of Steel or are you going to watch Batman Begins? And tell us why it's Man of Steel. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling Man of Steel. It's just a movie that I can sit through every time. It never gets boring. It never feels slow to me. Batman Begins feels slow at times and a little campy, a little more movie. Like I know Man of Steel is a little all over the place, but it feels more indie and artsy to me, and I like that vibe a lot. So I can always enjoy it.
Jeff, why are you picking Batman Begins?
I'm picking Batman Begins because I think it actually might be my favorite of the like origin story kind of prototype.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. I think there's a reverence in me having kind of grown up with these movies, but even revisiting it for the first time in a long time this past week, I think I am starting to favor it more than I am The Dark Knight. And I do like The Dark Knight, and it's hard to compare with, Heath Ledger's performance as Joker.
Yeah. You have to like kind of ignore him to like compare him because like he's just steals the show.
But again, like I think this is the Bruce Wayne Batman story. I think you actually get his arc here. You track him as a character, and I think it's done very, very well. And it might be one of my favorite Nolan movies.
I think that's
fair.
I think that's super fair. I do think after having rewatched the trilogy that Batman Begins is like the structurally the strongest. I think Dark Knight is like thematically the brightest. Like it really strong themes in that movie. Lots of ideas being explored. Dark Knight Rises, it got a lot of shit when it came out. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Didn't have a big issue with it.
I was molded by it.
I was molded by the darkness.
Tristan.
I'm gonna see Batman Begins.
Why are you watching Batman Begins?
I'm gonna see Batman Begins because I want to sit next to Jeff and eat off his popcorn.
I always buy the
They want to just avoid me. We just go to the theaters together, like, bye.
I'm just worried that I won't be able to enjoy the last hour of Batman Begins because I'll just be hearing Man of Steel, like just loud
just like
noises
shaking
in
the theater next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing will come down. It's like Superman was actually there. Nothing but dust left.
The tornado that took Pa Kent will come through. But yeah, I think that's
our show then. Hey, Dallas, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I had a wonderful time.
Thanks for helping me move and recording this podcast in my new basement. It was a good
It's
time.
pretty styling, yeah. Hopefully we have plenty more of these.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Aaron Griffin, for mixing and mastering our theme song. And thank you for Jared Tadlock for doing the branding and providing us with elements that make us look a little bit cooler. Join us next week when we have a hard ticket to choose between American Psycho and Vampire's Kiss. Until then, we'll see you at the movies. Bye-bye.
It's a hard ticket at the movies. Which one will you watch? Let's decide.